And that would include the precinct caucuses that are coming up February 4th, which I highly recommend that everyone puts down on their calendar to attend this upcoming, I think it's a Tuesday night, the 4th. But yeah, also there's a lot of other ways that you can get involved with your political party. And some of you out there might have never been a part of a political party, or you don't know what all your options are. So the panelists today are going to explain a little bit about what parties exist in Minnesota, what they've been up to, what their stances are on cannabis specifically, and hopefully we can all leave with a little bit better knowledge of how political parties work, how they influence things down at the state capitol, and how we can get involved with political parties as people that are looking to forward cannabis law reform in Minnesota in order to affect change. And so with that, I'm going to just turn it over and go down the line. I'm going to give every person about 2 minutes to explain what their political party is, just a general synopsis of what their political party stands for and why they got involved with that party that they're in currently. So I'm going to start off with William and then just go, yeah, and if everyone could stand as you talk, that would be.
My name is William Denny. I'm a member of the Independence Party of Minnesota. I got involved with the party in 2008 with the Dean Barkley campaign. Been a delegate ever since. Our party is kind of the middle of the road party, if you will. We brand ourselves as socially inclusive and fiscally responsible, so almost libertarian light, if you will. Our caucus system, basically almost the same as DFL and Republican. We don't have quite the manpower that they have, so our actual physical caucuses aren't on quite the scale that they have. But we do offer a online caucus that you can go to if you can't actually attend a physical caucus of ours. It's open online on our website from 7 to 9, same caucus hours, and you can actually become a delegate of the party that way. You can also offer platform resolutions and do everything that you could at a physical caucus. Should I take questions?
Can you not hear?
MNIP.org is our website.
And also, this is a little bit like semi-informal, so you can ask questions, but try to save them towards the end if they're not real pertinent to what is being discussed.
And for anyone who's still confused, we're actually the Jesse Ventura Party, if that helps anyone remember us. But actually our current stance on cannabis is we support the legalization, taxation, and regulation of marijuana. We believe it should be put in the same category as alcohol and tobacco. We just adopted that platform resolution this summer at our state convention. And yeah, I was actually the person who wrote that platform, and I'd love to teach anyone here the process of anyone's party and how it's actually quite easy to get things done like this, especially in third-party world, maybe not on the DFL and GOP scale, but a lot of people feel so overwhelmed by the political process and are so scared to get involved. And if you, get yourself a nice little spot on the lower levels, it's really pretty amazing what you actually can accomplish. Within a year, I'm getting interviewed by Tim Pugmire on NPR News because now we've made this big splash for legalizing marijuana. So things can happen very quickly, and I just want to emphasize that to you guys. And yeah, I'd love to see a lot of you guys at our caucuses on February 4th, and hopefully at some of our conventions in the future.
Thank you.
I'm representing the Libertarian Party, and I have a cold, so I'll talk as loud as I can. I've actually been involved with the Independence Party, the Libertarian Party, the Republican Party, and back to the Libertarian Party again. I'm not, parties are just vehicles, and I'm happy to be representing the Libertarian Party today because they believe, like I do, that the best person to decide what to do with your life is you. And that especially, that applies especially to this issue. This is an issue that's close to my heart, because there are all kinds of implications. We've got 40,000 new laws a year in this country, and marijuana being criminal is craziness. We all can agree on that. So if you would like to not tell people what to do, you can come to our caucuses, and we're having caucus-style events, and you can actually participate in the Democrat, Republican, Independence Party. You can do all of those caucuses. Well, I don't think you can do the Democrat and the Republicans. They're not cool like that, but we are. So if you want to participate in theirs and come to ours also, you can do that. But it is, like William Denny said, it is a lot easier to get things done on a third-party level, because really the Republicans and Democrats are controlled from the top down, and I've seen that from a first-hand experience. But I would encourage you, we have all of ours on our website. It's lpmn.org. All the dates are on there, and you can come on out, and don't be intimidated. Just show up. Just show up, and you will, you'll catch on. It happens quickly. You don't feel like you need to know Robert's rules before you get there, or any of that stuff. And don't be intimidated by it either. Just ignore it, and just focus on what you want to accomplish, and that is, this is all your goal, is to legalize marijuana. And I don't think there's been a better time for it, because we now have a majority in the country who are in agreement with you. And frankly, it's amazing to me that this has ever been an issue. Something that's never killed anybody, does not make people violent, and yet, we have somebody in the White House who's done it. Actually, our last 3 presidents, okay, so Clinton didn't inhale. But our last 3 presidents all admit to smoking marijuana. Are they criminals or are they not? There are people sitting in jails who have done the same thing that they did, right? That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. And that means that equal protection under the law does not exist in this country anymore. So if you want to help restore that, I don't care, get involved with any party, but don't be intimidated by the process. Just show up, and other people will take you under their wing and just help you along. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Ollie Steinberg, and I'm speaking for the Grassroots Party, and the Grassroots Party speaks for you. We started in 1986, but it started for me in 1963 when I saw people in the United States being sent on with dogs, being beaten, brutalized, and thrown in jail because they wanted to be first-class citizens, and they were going up against unjust laws. Step into the way back machine. It's 1971. A bunch of lawyers in Washington want to get together and legalize cannabis. They form an organization called National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws. And what are you going to do to reform those marijuana laws? How about rallies and demonstrations in the street? Yeah, tried that. It doesn't work. Let's go to court. Let's see if we can overturn it with the courts. Courts won't touch this for us. Is it going to drop from the sky? Magic? Will that bring us legal cannabis? Won't do it. How about just wait? Sooner or later, it's got to be legal, right? Well, some of us have gotten old and gray, and some of us have died while we've been waiting. So, what do you do? Lobbying. Politicians listen to 2 things, money and votes. But guess what? We can lobby all we want till we're blue in the face. We're not going to get these politicians off the dime. This is a different kind of thing. This is a witch hunt. This is a holy war, an inquisition against us. There's only one weapon we've got left. That is left in our arsenal, in the system that we've got, in our armory. That's the vote, the ballot box, what those people were fighting and dying for in the South when I was a kid, the right to vote. We set out with the Grassroots Party to change this system, and the way to do that is with the vote. Now, legalization has to be won at the ballot box, and that's how it has started in the states where people can vote directly to change the law, like California and Colorado and Washington, but Minnesota state constitution doesn't let us do that. So, we have in our system political parties. There's 2 kinds of parties in Minnesota. Major parties get over 5% of the vote statewide. Minor parties get 1%, but less than 5%. They have a legal status, because that's where the Grassroots Party fits in. And what does a minor party do historically? It brings controversial ideas into the political debate. It educates the people. It creates public sentiment, and it tries to get enough votes to hold a balance of power. The professional politicians like the 2-party system. The 2-party system when it's not in gridlock, is great. If it's not in gridlock, it might be in stagnation. But our two-party system is structurally part of our political process. The minor parties have to come in and shake things up. If you've got a radical or controversial idea that the politicians are afraid of, go to the people. Go fishing for votes. Rock the boat. Fish for their ideas. And that is what we've been doing since 1986, over and over and over again. And maybe you don't see the results, but suddenly the other parties are coming aboard. I think I've used up my 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, we'll have more questions, Ali.
I'm A.J. Jansen. I'm talking for the Green Party today. The Green Party is a party that is origin social, environmental movements from the 70s and 80s. There are Green parties in over 90 countries in the world, and we all share the core values. The United States Green Party is based on 4 pillars: ecological wisdom, social and economic justice, nonviolence, and grassroots democracy. The 10 key values were put forth during a meeting in 1984. The spirit was very grounded in grassroots democracy. Today, the Minnesota grassroots spirit is very strong and could potentially be one of the focus on meetings, coalitions between different movements based on organizations, also getting to more prominent. We're excited about planning special shops and events for this. This is our anniversary year, and the national convention is actually going to be right here in Minnesota at Hamlin University. What's it? McAllister. I'm sorry, McAllister University. I can't hold that down here. This must be an old version. Sorry. It's July 24th to the 26th, 27th. We're supposed to say something about how we got involved.
Yeah, why did you get involved with the Green Party?
Back when I was actually in the Independence Party, and I did a radio show online, and I interviewed candidates, and the DFL and the GOP blew me off. A couple of the other minor league parties sent their candidates to me, and I interviewed them. I was highly insulted when my own party blew me off as well. I interviewed several people from the Green Party and really liked where it was going, and that's after the election that I went and joined the Green Party. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm Tom Gallagher. I'm a criminal lawyer in Minneapolis. I'm filling in for the Republican Party kind of at the last minute here. And my somewhat thin basis for doing so is that I did caucus with the Republican Party last time on behalf of Ron Paul, who, as the quote over there points out, has strongly favored legalization of marijuana for decades, I believe. But was a strong candidate in the last presidential election. Before the National Republican Party snubbed him and us, foolishly, in my opinion. But anyway, actually I have a stronger background in the DFL party because I was there for maybe 20 years. I was on the state central committee of the DFL party. I was a party officer for at least 12, maybe 20 years. In the DFL, and I have friends in every political party, and I actually like all the political parties in Minnesota. But as an issue activist, which is what I've always been all my life, I've always been an issue activist, pushing an issue. I started out as an environmental activist. Now I'm a marijuana activist. But part of my early training as an issue activist from my colleagues was that we need to go into the political parties and interact with them and take them over, basically. As an issue activist, that's your mission. Pick a political party, get involved, and try to co-opt them and take them over. Even as you do that, they're going to try to co-opt you and take you over. So it sort of reminds me of the Matrix with Agent Smith or something. It's like, boom, you push them, you turn into Agent, oh, look at, there's so many of me here. So we want to kind of turn them into Agent Normals, you know. Turn the political party into, you know, the Republican Normal Party, the DFL Normal Party, whatever. Of course, they're trying to turn you into, you know, a clone of whatever they are. So that's kind of the battle. That's your mission, is to, you know, keep your focus on your issue and don't get sidetracked into these other issues that may be wonderful, but there's plenty of other people already devoted to those issues. We need to devote to our issue, to advance our issue, so that we can get this done. And as far as the mechanics go, I'm well familiar with that. I could train anybody. I'll try to do a little bit of that today. If anybody ever wants to give me a call or talk to me at a meeting about these things, I'd be more than happy. But, you know, in a really bare bones nutshell, when you go to a political caucus, if the major parties have caucuses, some of the minor parties don't, you can get involved in any one of them. But if you do get involved with a major party like the Republican Party or the DFL, you can go to the caucus. We are a caucus state when it comes to presidential elections, but we use caucuses basically to pull activists out of the community and into the party. The parties need people to be involved with the parties, to do volunteer work, and to donate money and energy to the party. So that's why they need you, but you know, they need to give something back in return, and that's where you can push your issue. How do you push your issue? There's two fundamental ways to do it. One is a resolutions platform committee. It might be called either one of those. And you can propose a resolution at the precinct caucus, and the hope is that it will go up through the layers of the hierarchy to the state convention and ultimately become part of the party platform. I believe the DFL party has medical marijuana as part of the platform in some fashion. We'd like to get 21 and over as part of every party's platform, and it's part of some of the parties here that already have it as their platform. Another way to be involved as an activist that's different and distinct from the resolutions. Oh, and by the way, if you really are into resolutions, you should get yourself elected to the resolutions committee at the precinct level, and then try to become a delegate to the higher level convention, the Senate District Convention, and so on, up to the state convention, and keep trying to get appointed to resolutions committee. It's pretty easy to get appointed to those committees. Sometimes it's like who's willing to do it, and then they get put on there. Same thing with being a delegate at a lower level. But ideally, if you're an issue activist, you want to get yourself elected as a delegate to the next higher level, to go to the convention, the next higher convention. Keep doing that and try to get to the state convention if you can. It gets more competitive as you go higher up in the hierarchy. But the other way to affect change in a political party is to be elected a delegate, but in the DFL and the Republican Party, to some extent, you can get elected as an issue to a sub-caucus that has an issue associated with it. So you could be part of the Liberty sub-caucus or the marijuana sub-caucus or whatever you want to call it that may appeal to other people who are there. It's sort of a balancing act between appealing to more people and yet maintaining your issue, you know, the visibility of your issue. You kind of want to do both, even though there may be some conflict there. But you want to get elected, form a sub-caucus if you do sub-caucusing in your precinct caucus, and have it relate to an issue. They're commonly either about an issue or a candidate. So it could be the Jane Jones sub-caucus, because we're all for Jane Jones for state senate. So we're part of her campaign. We could be part of the marijuana sub-caucus. Sometimes they'll combine. Like if you don't have enough to get elected a delegate to the next higher level, you may make a deal with Jane Jones - marijuana sub-caucus. What? Yeah,
So, speaking well for the GOP, though, Norm.
yeah. I mean, I do identify with the GOP because I mean I'm a libertarian with a small L. But I don't think that's the main point here. I mean, I'm not trying to convert anybody to my way of thinking right now. I mean, the main point of today is the mechanics of how to get involved in political parties, how to take them over, how to, how to use your political parties in Minnesota to help you legalize marijuana.
Despite the filibuster, that was a very good explanation of how the party process works and how you get involved, and it's actually a lot easier to get your resolutions passed and become a delegate than it sounds, than the smaller parties make it sound. And becoming a volunteer on the resolutions committees, all those things. By the way, my name is Henry.
What's your shirt say, Henry?
My shirt says democracy is not a spectator sport.
All right.
And that's why I love Normal. They're not spectators, they're getting involved. And that's what I would like these smaller parties to do, get involved in organizations like them where they influence the parties that have the power. We have to recognize there are two parties that have the power. They have the influence, they have the people in Congress that do stuff. And that's why I'm involved in a major party as opposed to a tiny party that has no influence, no voice when it comes to people in Washington, the people in our state, people at our city levels even. And I'm going to try to circle back to our initial conversation about why I became a part of that party, and that's essentially it. And I have a great deal of influence on the party at a local level. I get involved in the caucuses. It's because of that, and I've been a Republican, I've been part of the Libertarian Party, I've been part of the Green Party, and this is not a top-down party. This is a bottom-up party. This is why Paul Wellstone got elected. He did the footwork, he got active, he went to caucuses, he went all across the state, and he got other people involved voting for him, voting for issues. And this is the case with Normal. We got in the case of Normal, we got medical cannabis on the DFL resolution list. It's on their party platform. You can hold if your representative or senator is a DFL Democrat, you can hold them accountable to that. Say you swore on as part of your endorsement that you're going to recognize that it's medical cannabis, and you got to call them up. That's how same-sex marriage. That was also same-sex marriage was on the 2012 DFL action agenda list, just like medical cannabis is. The only difference between why this medical cannabis isn't allowed right now, isn't part of the state law, and same-sex marriage is because the same-sex marriage people got together a huge amount of people. They did the grass, they did the legwork. They got out there and they held their representatives accountable. They said, look, you swore that you're going to uphold our platform, and they held them accountable, and they voted on it, and they got it passed. And that's really essentially why I'm part of this. You have the power to hold your representatives accountable in this party, and that's what I love about it. And get involved at the caucuses and get it done.
I'm going to say a couple things, and then I'll have your question. So I myself have been active in politics for probably only 5 or 6 years. It was after an arrest related to cannabis possession. But in order to affect change, I did realize quickly that getting involved with parties really is the way to move things forward. Because it's, if you're only one voice and trying to go down to the Capitol or talking to elected officials, it's very difficult. But if you can point out to these elected officials that on their own party's platform it says that they ought to be doing one thing, but that they're doing another, that's a way to gain more leverage. And trying to affect political change is really all about leverage. If you can convince someone that they, very well might not have a job the next year or the year after because you're working for a different party or a different candidate, it gets them nervous, it gets them interested in hearing what your issues are and potentially adopting your issues so that they don't see you siphoning votes from them. So I was a part of the Republican Party. I apologize that Kirk Burbeck was not able to make it today to represent the Republican Party, but I just wanted to quickly mention that Kirk is a lead organizer from the North Metro Tea Party. On the news, the Tea Party gets a bad rap, but really locally, there is a lot of support amongst the Tea Party for cannabis legalization, especially the North Metro Tea Party. They asked me specifically to come speak to their audience of 250 or 300 people, but also there's a large libertarian wing of the Republican Party, or the Liberty Republicans, which I participated with 2 years ago when I ran for state house as a Republican against Karen Clark in South Minneapolis, just the district right south of the interstate here. But I just really encourage you guys to take what is being said tonight or this morning to heart and really try to figure out where you can get involved. With that, I'm going to take 2 comments or questions from the audience, and then we're going to have one more question for the group.
Just a segue into, or the opportunity to, I'm making the assumption of what the Republican platform is.
Yes. Yeah.
So can you speak to,
Yes.
I just haven't heard what it is.
I can. Actually, it was amended within the last year or 2 to say that the issue of drug laws ought to be a state or municipality issue. And I actually just found out that this change happened 2 days ago. I wasn't aware, even though I've been involved with the Republican Party. But they did change their official party platform to say that this should not be a federal issue. The federal drug laws ought to be dismantled, and that the state of Minnesota should decide how to control substances. So I thought that was very interesting and promising, but the idea is that all of us can attend, and it's whoever's in the room that gets to vote on what the platform is, and it's a matter of getting elected at your local level to the next couple rungs to get to the state convention where these issues are voted upon, and I think it actually needs 60% of the delegates to vote in favor of it to get it on the platform. At least it is for the DFL party. It's 60%. And that's another issue is Governor Dayton obviously is opposed to medical marijuana right now, let alone tax and regulate. And so we ought to be pointing out to him his own party's action agenda and say to him, you are not representing your party on this issue. Do you want to speak to that, Henry?
I want to speak to that just for a second. Dayton got elected. He didn't get through the official DFL endorsement process, and that's why I'm kind of against voting for people to get endorsed by the DFL. He met Margaret Anderson Keller, who was endorsed by the DFL at a pre-state election for just the DFL party, and got voted there. So he's able to take his position because he kind of found a loophole in that he avoided the DFL endorsement, and he doesn't have to stick strictly to the platform.
And Lynn, and then we're going to get back to that.
Yeah, I just thought that it should be mentioned that there is the medical marijuana bill right now for the new people that are here that may not be aware.
Yeah.
That, and maybe even let them know to check out the Minnesotans for Compassionate Care, their website, because the bill is on their site if you want to look at the bill.
Heather,
Yeah,
wanted to say.
get a hold of Heather. She just called me on Thursday.
Sure.
And she sent me an email. She asked me to forward the email to, I don't know who it was, a Star Tribune or something, some little newspaper or whatever. And that newspaper called me yesterday and asked me to verify it, and I stood by it. So I think it's going to be in the print. So
Oh, nice. A letter to the editor?
If anybody else wanted to contact her and get involved with that, I'm sure you got her contact information.
Yeah, and real quickly, the bill number is House File 1818. And I don't know the name of the Senate file offhand, but it is the medical marijuana bill.
1641.
1641, SF 1641. So it's the medical marijuana bill. Dayton's currently opposed. It's been all over the news, so I'm assuming most people knew that was going on. But there's also a hemp bill in the state legislature as well, which is important to try to push forward. But I think we're going to transition back to the panelists. We'll get you later, Jeff. Sorry about
I was
it.
just going to say really clearly there is a lot of confusion that Minnesota Normal and Minnesota for Compassionate Care. Minnesota Normal is supporting recreational. Just for, I know I got a lot of people that get confused on that. So.
Yeah.
Not that we don't support medical, but we are pushing for full legalization.
Yeah, our organization is just looking further down the line. 2 states in the country have tax and regulate laws, Colorado and Washington. 20 states have medical laws. We're attempting to become the 21st state within the next 4 months potentially here in Minnesota. But yeah, we're supporting that effort. We think it's going in the right direction, but it doesn't go far enough. With that, I'll take one more question, but that's going to be the last one.
I'll pose this to the representatives of the DFL and the...
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Pose this question to members of the DFL and Republican Party.
Yeah.
How many warm bodies at the caucus do you think it would take to get a legalized marijuana plank 60% vote in the party platform of the state convention? And secondly, how many warm bodies to the caucuses would it take to get the 41% necessary to deny Mark Dayton DFL endorsement if he continues his opposition to marijuana?
All right.
How many warm bodies to the caucuses would it take to get either one of those goals accomplished?
Well, how about this? I'm not going to only limit it to the DFL and the Republican. I'm going to ask everyone on the panel, how many bodies does it take to get something changed in their own party? But before I go to them, I do want to mention that there was a poll recently that said that 53% of DFLers in Minnesota do support tax and regulate. And so to get 60% at the state convention with the delegates coming from various regions isn't out of the question. So if we make a concerted effort in the DFL party, the Republican Party, what have you, change can be made. But I'm going to pose the question to the panelists. If there is some specific language that you know of that your platform talks about related to cannabis, whether it be medical or full legalization, just mention that. But also, if there's anything that you'd like to respond to based on comments from the audience or something that other people have said, feel free to mention that at this time. But we're going to come back to you, William, and go down the line again. And stick to 2 or 3 minutes. And this is actually going to be, I think, the last round of dialogue. So make your closing remarks along with this, and then we'll take a couple more comments from the audience and then get going. So
Sure. As I said before, our party already supports legalization, taxation, regulation. And to answer the gentleman's question in back, how many warm bodies does it take? Honestly, one. It takes one warm body, one very driven person in order to make a change. No one in my party was talking about marijuana until I became a delegate, started the conversation, offered the platform resolution, began the conversations with all the people in my party, and all of a sudden you feel people start churning, and you'll realize a lot of more people than you think are actually in support of this issue. And so to kind of take a quirky answer, I would say all it takes really is one very driven person, and you can make a change. Don't be overwhelmed by the process. I encourage all of you to get involved at any level possible because, well, we need you. I mean, this is a fight that can't be, we can't sit in the shadows on this one. This is something that we got to hit the, strike while the iron is hot. And right now is the time for this issue. So I encourage all of you, get to a caucus. Even if it's not our party, go to the DFL caucus, go to the Green Party, Libertarians, anyone, but get involved, push your issue, even if it's not marijuana. Just get involved in the political process because otherwise, like I said, you're sitting in the shadows, banging your head against a wall and nothing gets done. So one person can make a difference, and I just want to emphasize that to all of you.
thank you.
So our position is already decriminalization, and that, so we're good on that one. But I would just encourage you, if you have a tendency to write off the third parties as a wasted vote or a waste of your time, keep in mind that it only takes 5%. 5% would be a game changer. And we really do need something over, because, perhaps not at a local level with the Democrats and the Republicans, but I can say from personal experience, my husband was a delegate to the National Republican Convention, and I was a state delegate for Ron Paul in 2012. And I can honestly say that the whole thing is rigged. They pick somebody from the top down, and they guarantee that the outcome will always be what they want it to be. So there's a reason that our president, although claiming you know, that he wouldn't usurp state law concerning marijuana, sent federal agents into Colorado when they decriminalized, and still, you know, the rates took them out. Well, there's a reason for that. You always get the same things from the two major parties. You know, whether you vote Republican or Democrat, you always get bank bailouts, you always get endless war, you get, you know, these continued drug laws, and the reason is because there's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of people making money off of the drug war, and they're not going to let it go easily. So, so I would encourage you, even if you decide to, you know, caucus Republican, caucus Democrat, and do your best to take them over at a local level. But also, don't forget, because you can vote third party, and 5% is a game changer. It gives them major party status, and we could really use that, and that would be a threat to the Republicans and the Democrats, because a lot of times they're working together. Like the debate commission that keeps other people out, that was because of Ross Perot. Because Ross Perot came way too close to infiltrating their duopoly over this country. So I would just encourage you, don't write off the third parties. The third parties make the national parties shake in their boots. And 5% is all that it would take to make a difference. So just encourage you to get out there. And either way, you know, all of them, just, you know, take over a party.
Just so you guys know, there are a couple seats up here if you're looking to sit down. I saw you come in, so.
Well, there's a big one. Here's the real one. A check for $50 from the state of Minnesota made out to me because I donated $50 to the Grassroots Party. As a legally recognized political party, your donation to the Grassroots Party can be refunded by the state. Get Minnesota to pay for us to agitate for legalization of cannabis and to get people out of jail. Look, the Grassroots Party has always known that the war on drugs is a war on people. And the definition of grassroots in politics, a term that all the politicians want to use, is the people farthest removed from the centers of power. Well, who could be further removed than us? And our issue in the Wayback Machine. When we started out, the New York Times said legalization was unspeakable politically. Time magazine said it was unthinkable. It was unprintable. The California Attorney General suppressed a report recommending marijuana be accepted. The Surgeon General Elder said we should study legalization. President Clinton said he wasn't interested in studying it, and by the way, you're fired. You need the Grassroots Party to set the agenda, to keep the other parties honest, because if they grab this issue, they'll try to tell you what you want to hear, but they won't deliver unless you keep the heat on. And we need to do that. And the Grassroots Party specifically says we must have the unconditional release of nonviolent drug war prisoners. Because as Eugene Victor Debs once said, as long as there's a soul in prison, I am not free. We need the complete repeal of prohibition. Complete repeal of prohibition, restoring the right to grow your own herb for your own use.
Yeah.
We need. This is what the Grassroots Party will campaign for. Our candidates will be the ones talking about this. We won't stick it in the platform. We won't put it in the Republican platform. We won't put it in the Democratic platform, which their professional politicians consider as so much disposable waste paper. And they also consider our platform as so much disposable waste paper. Our platform is the Bill of Rights of the Constitution.
Yeah!
We want to make the political debate include complete amnesty for all victims arrested for cannabis offenses and a restoration of civil rights, especially the right to vote. We want reparations for former prisoners in the form of exemption from any taxes imposed on cannabis.
Forever.
Now, does this sound utopian? Does this sound dreamy? Listen, you should remember, we just celebrated Dr. King's birthday. You can have a dream. fight and work for that dream. And with the power of a mass movement, that dream can happen. We intend to create the demand which should fit right in with the Republican Party platform if it meant anything. Abolish the DEA. If some backward state wants to continue cannabis prohibition, let's fight it out at that level, but let's get rid of the goddamn totalitarian police state with their high-tech snooping, spying, and destruction of all of our civil rights. We must dismantle the American gulag, the for-profit prison industry. That's what's driving this drug war. That's what's created the new Jim Crow, the restoration of a second-class subordinate citizenship, of destroying the citizenship of African Americans disproportionately, and of all of us indirectly and sometimes directly. That's what we're advocating, and with your support we will make it heard. We do that. We've got the reefer rebate and the reefer refund. Okay, you now, there's one other thing I want to say, or I guess I keep going here.
Like 30 seconds or a minute.
Okay. What have we done? Real politics is dull and boring, and you've got to talk to people who aren't going to agree with you or care. But that's how you get change. Whether you're a Demo-Publican or a fire-breathing anarchist, get your message out. And the Grassroots Party, 20 years ago, Miles Esserich wrote to the local newspaper, says, the Grassroots Party is not shallow and hedonistic. They've worked with ACT UP. They had 4 candidates on the ballot 2 years ago, more than any other third party. They got 2 members of the Minnesota legislature to introduce bills for medical marijuana. That was 20 years ago. This year we had a 420 demonstration. We leafleted the Midwest Legislative Conference where all the politicians were. We leafleted this outside the state fair. We started a medical petition, didn't get too far with it, but we had protests at the Blue State Ball, where Governor Dayton was, at Martin Luther King Day, where we almost got arrested, at the Gopher football games, outside the Federal Reserve Bank, at the main intersection in Hastings, standing there holding a sign saying, let's legalize it. We did! Come out of the closet. Come out of the closet and help those who can't come out of the closet, because we do live in a police state. But we can be a voice for everybody who's oppressed, giving them the chance to use the greatest power that they have, the secret ballot. They can do that. You can get supporters to do something that matters, and they can do it invisibly. But we got to be out there to do it. Now, we don't caucus. We're a minor party. We don't need to. We don't have enough active supporters. We petition to get candidates on the ballot, and we need your help to do that. And then in November, when you vote for the grassroots candidates who are on the ballot, that vote counts just as much as a vote for any of the bourgeois corporate candidates. And finally, there's the old saying, we who believe in freedom cannot wait. So join the Grassroots Party. Let's make 2014 the year of Freedom Summer across America. Let's get growing.
The Green Party is pretty much supports legalization for medical marijuana right now.
Pretty much, or they do?
Well, they do, and it's in our platform. I'd rather go with the national platform, which wants to do the same thing, but also adding in legalization of all drugs, including decriminalization and missing a page. But freeing anybody who's been in jail for a nonviolent marijuana crime. Our prisons are too filled with nonviolent criminals. I mean, in New York, there's a guy who got 40 years for standing next to a marijuana joint, and proven later that he had no THC in his system, and it was most likely not his, and they refused to release him, basically. So it's this kind of crime that we have to change, and the only way we're going to do it is by banding together. Even if it's all the parties deciding that, you know, we're not going to stand for it anymore, we have to band together with groups like Normal. That's it, I guess.
Yeah.
How many more bodies would it take? I think I agree, one person can make a difference. It kind of depends on the context that you find yourself within. The important thing is to go put yourself into that context. You may be a missionary, kind of breaking the ice, planting the seeds that will sprout and grow later. Or you may be the catalyst who goes into an environment that's just waiting, like a sky that's just waiting to rain. And the catalyst comes in, the dust blows in, and the droplets form, and then the rainstorm, the thunderstorm comes. You could be that person. You could be that catalyst. But either one is no more important than the other. They're both extremely important. Whether you are a missionary, whether you are planting the seeds in the springtime of freedom, or whether you are that catalyst who's coming in when it's primed for a rainstorm. You know,
What about the harvesters? The harvesters?
the most important person in politics is you. There's nobody more important than you, because you can go to your political party, to your precinct caucus, the Republican precinct caucus, or another party. You can go to your precinct caucus or get involved in another way if it's a minor party, if they don't have caucuses. You can get involved and you can make the difference. Nobody else can do that for you. You're the only one who can do it. You can do it. And if you do it, you know, you can be the spark that changes everything. And that's what we want you to do.
Again, Democrats. The warm body question, I agree. It takes basically one person at each caucus. The more warm bodies at each caucus, the better. But I was one person at one caucus presenting something that got passed. And it just, you be that one person at your caucus, it gets passed, and it's amazing how quickly it goes to the top after that. We went to the district, basically got rubber stamped at the district, and went out to the state. I didn't become a state delegate, and that was my fault, really. There are so few people. There's a lot of seeming competition for delegates at the district convention where they select state delegates, when in fact, if you sign on as an alternate, very few, about half the people who actually sign up to be delegates at the state convention and vote on these things actually end up being there. So it's up to individuals to actually show up, sign up as alternates, go as alternates, and you'll get in. There's just so much room, and so many people don't show up that it's all up to basically us, the warm bodies, to show up, be there, and voice it, vote for it, and make sure it gets through. As far as what the VFL has done so far on its platform is the legalization of medicinal marijuana. Current support, the president, I think there was a president in the Department of Justice, they just went through and said banks can lend to marijuana shops in both Colorado and Washington. They're not invading Colorado and Washington, they're saying banks, you can support them too. Obama has come out and said, yes, I think it's wrong. He did this in a public interview. Yes, I think it's wrong that we're criminalizing these people. It's unjust, and that I'm free and these people are in jail. So the presence is there, the voice is there. It's just a matter of us doing it at the very basic level and make sure we reference those things, call it out at our parties, call it out to our representatives, and say, go for it. Also, as far as power and influence, we have in our platform, corporations are not people. Money is not speech. Now, you have to keep on reminding your representatives that this is in the platform, and you have to keep going and putting it in the platform, make sure it stays in the platform, and then it becomes an action item. But that's already in there. It doesn't say it's a top-down party. It says public financing. It doesn't say we only take money from corporations. In fact, it says corporations shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be taking private financing. So all it's there. We just need to execute at this point. Execute, either be active.
Yeah, I have a couple things to say, but what's up, Jeff?
I would like to let everybody know that it's not always, that the term marijuana is an offensive term, and if you guys could call it cannabis, I would completely feel that you'd get a lot more support, because marijuana is a term that was made, it's a made-up term that's made for, I don't know if that's right, subjugation or, it's got negative connotations to it. So if you guys could start calling it cannabis or referring to it as anything but marijuana, that would resonate with me, and I'm sure with a lot of other users.
Why don't we change the meaning of the word marijuana? Why don't we just take the word marijuana?
Point noted. And we, as normal, we sometimes say marijuana also, and it's in our acronym also. But thank you for that comment. Do you?
I was going to respond, but I'll just talk to you later.
Okay, sweet. So I really wanted to mention quickly a little more about the Republican Party, just because they weren't properly represented, I don't think, today. He was only there one time. He was only at their last one.
One spokesman per party.
No, I think that Tom would agree that maybe I could elaborate a little more. But I wanted to specifically talk about the fact that when you go to your precinct caucus, the next level above that is the BPOU, or Basic Political Organizing Unit. And I think right after that, you go to, is it the Senate District and then?
Congressional District.
So I wanted to emphasize the fact that the CD5, or Congressional District 5 Republican Party candidates that get there are a whole different breed of Republicans than most of the other congressional districts, and that you will, as far as how many warm bodies you need in the room to get the CD5 Republicans to vote in favor of cannabis, parties are as far as support, but sometimes it takes going into a party that doesn't have as much support and to be a missionary, like Tom was talking about. And I feel like I have had that role as a candidate and as a delegate as a Republican. Okay, moving on, I do also want to mention what a precinct is. A lot of people don't know this, but a precinct is the very smallest organizing unit in politics. And those units make up kind of blocks of different House districts. So in the House district that I ran in, there was roughly 10 or 11 precincts in it. And so each precinct, at least in Minneapolis, is about 3,700 people, I believe is the number. So out of that, you have to figure out how many people are going to participate in a precinct. And then after that, you need to figure out how many people are going to go to a specific party's precinct. And so at my last precinct, just for people that have never been before, there was about 13 people that I was voting with. And so, if you could bring a couple of your neighbors with you to one of these events, you could very easily have, 5 firm votes to make you be the person that gets elected to go to the next level. So bring your neighbors that are supportive. This really is something that only happens once a year, and you're able to participate with the people that live right next to you on issues. You can talk back and forth about these issues that are real important, and all politics starts locally, or is local, or whatever the saying is. So moving beyond that, I also want to mention that Minnesota Normal has been collecting various precinct resolution languages, and so we're going to be sending out to our listserv, or to our mailing list, a couple of documents. And Henry actually put together one already for the DFL. I've got one that I used 2 years ago, but it should be as simple as being able to click the link print the page out, and you can bring this resolution with you to your own party, to their precinct caucus. I think
They'd like to have them in writing, by the way.
Yeah, they would like to have them in writing. I think that they actually hand out pieces of paper where you can write out a resolution. However, it would be best if we all had the exact same language. And so we're going to put out some language. You feel free to use it. If you want to alter it, you're more than welcome to. But I'd like to propose the idea that the group that's in the room today kind of is the foundational group that is going to make up the new cannabis caucus in this state. We plan on infiltrating every political party in the state, co-opting them if they're not already on our side, or joining them if they're already on our side, and trying to make this an issue at the state conventions that are coming up in probably about 3 or 4 months. And then we're also going to make this an issue when election time comes at the end of November, because every single state house representative is up for election, and a lot of other state seats are up for election. So we are all going to unite. We're a multi-partisan organization, but the Cannabis Caucus is hereby founded with you guys here, and we're going to make this a wedge issue in 2014, because we're tired of being oppressed, and we are in the majority now. So we're going to take a new tone, and we just want to set the message straight, or set the record straight, that we should be expected. So yeah, thanks for... Lastly, one more comment. If you don't know where your precinct caucus is, there is a very easy mechanism on the Secretary of State's website. You can easily click, type in your address, and find out where your local precinct caucus is. And also, parties that don't have precinct caucuses, you can also look on the Secretary of State's website for details on those local or the other types of get-togethers that are going on other than precinct caucuses. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Randy real quick, after I get your comment or question. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I came out of the closet this morning with my conservative job because I have an idea that I think could really be powerful. You need to win the rural people in northern Minnesota, and here's my thought. I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. What they, a lot of older people, a lot of rural people felt a lot of fear of cannabis. What they need to fear are the acres of land way in the middle of the state forest that are being run by criminals growing crops, and I know people who have seen this out four-wheeling in the UP. Tripwires, explosives, choppers coming in. I think this is the message you need to carry to rural Minnesota, because if we are one of the last states that it is still illegal, we will become the refuge of the criminals. And they're already doing it. There's been huge crops found in northern Wisconsin. And like I said, I have friends who've run into these explosive mined giant plantations in the UP. Now that they have medical marijuana, those are gone. My friends have gone back and visited them. The criminals are gone.
Yeah, it destroys forests and state parks, and so yeah, I definitely resonate with what you're saying. And honestly, we're recording all of this right now, and we're going to be sending it out to our list, which includes a lot of people from Greater Minnesota. And so
Completely out of the closet.
People that no, but welcome to the majority, I guess. Yeah, this is something that a new tone should be struck, because we don't have to be afraid anymore. There's 2 states in our country that have taken this step, and the sky did not fall. Pigs are actually flying less often because there's not flyovers on forests. Anyways, I want to say thank you once again for everyone that came. We are going to be engaging rural Minnesota because hemp is a very important product. At Austin we had a hemp fest recently, which went very well. But we want to expand Minnesota Normal. So if you guys have organizations or networks that we have that haven't heard about this message, please let us know. We'd be willing to have a booth or have an event to specifically talk to your group or your people group. So with that, thank you once again for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to Randy, who is going to have a quick announcement. But thanks again.
I just wanted to again, thanks everybody for coming, but just a heads up, you can mark your calendars. For February, every month we try to talk about a different topic, and last month was jury nullification, this month the caucuses, and we haven't quite decided if we'll make this our monthly meeting. Our meetings are usually always the fourth Saturday morning of the month, but we were fortunate to, I don't know how many people have seen the exhibit at the History Center, The American Spirits, The Rise and Fall of Prohibition. But if you haven't seen it, Minnesota Normal was able to rent out the whole hall, the whole exhibit is ours, February 27th, 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. There'll be a social hour with lots of good food, and the exhibit opens at 7. We can only have it open for 3 hours, so there'll be some social before and after. It'll be February 27th at the Minnesota History Center. It's 2 days after, and yeah, that's a kind of timely time. The legislature goes into session February 25th. On Tuesday. We'll be having this event Thursday night. And watch for the email. There will be an email with all of the details coming out next week. Again, due to some generous donations, we were able to normally it costs like $11 to get into it, and that doesn't include any food or so on. Well, this is going to be banquet style, end tickets, and everything, and I think we're setting the price at $15. But if you can get there, again, details will be here. If you can get your congressman or your representative or anybody else to come along, we'll have a code to give them a free ticket. Yeah. So we really, and I'm also working, I should say this, but I'm also working on getting Neil Franklin, who is the executive director of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. He hasn't confirmed yet, he's checking his schedule, but it looks like he'll be able to be in town for the event as well to give a little talk to us before. So anyway, the 27th, 6 till 11, watch for details coming next week. It'll be a great event. Hope to see you there. It's at the Minnesota the History Center, which is like right by the cathedral. It stares at the Capitol. It's right St. Paul. Go ahead.
Randy, we will have on our website an announcement and it'll be on the calendar and it'll be map and directions and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So on mnnormal.org, you can send all of your friends and their friends and their friends and their families and everybody you know to the website so they can show up at the history.
But the thing is, we are limited. I think they said the capacity was 150, 200 might get tight. So when you see the availability, you'll be able to get the, when you get the email, I'll have all the details, and you'll be able to reserve your ticket then. So anyway, hope to see you on the 27th, and thanks.
Sign up to help the grassroots campaign. I've got a clipboard.
If anybody wants a t-shirt, we have t-shirts over here. Or if you want to sign up to become a member, come let us know. Thanks for coming again, everybody. Tip your waitstaff if you got some drinks.